Hello and welcome. It's time to find your coziest spot. Snuggle down deep under your blankets and close your sleepy eyes. Tonight, we are traveling to a very old and magical forest to meet a very kind and brave little friend. So take a slow, deep breath and let our story begin. In a sun-dappled corner of a very old forest, nestled under the shade of a wide fern, was a mushroom house with a bright red cap. This was the home of Norman, a little gnome whose beard was as white as dandelion fluff and whose heart was as kind as a warm summer day. Norman was a tender of small things. He mended the wings of butterflies and made sure the ladybugs had safe places to sleep. The heart of Norman's forest was the great oak tree. It was ancient and vast, a silent giant that had watched over the woods for 1,000 summers. Its roots ran deep, like strong, gentle fingers holding the earth together, and its leaves sang a soft, rustling song that all the creatures knew as the sound of home. But lately, a stillness had fallen over the great oak. Its leaves had lost their cheerful green, and they no longer danced in the breeze. They hung tired and heavy, and the forest around the great trunk felt strangely quiet. Norman knew, with a deep sadness in his chest, that the heart of the forest was unwell. Worried, Norman went to the base of the tree and laid his head against one of the largest roots. He closed his eyes and listened, not with his ears, but with his heart, and he heard it. A faint, low hum from deep within the wood, a slow, tired sigh that spoke of a deep sadness. It was the whisper of the root, and it was a plea for help. Norman remembered a story the elder gnome used to tell, a legend of a single sun-kissed lily that bloomed only once a year. The legend said that the very first drop of morning dew to touch its petals held a magic powerful enough to heal any sickness in the forest, but it had to be delivered to the very heart of what was ailing. Norman knew what he must do. The great oak's heart was its heart root, a place deep, deep beneath the ground where all its roots began. He would have to take the healing dewdrop there. First, he found the most perfect acorn cap he could, a tiny, sturdy vessel to carry his single drop of hope. He searched all through the cool, pre-dawn mist, following the scent of sweet nectar until he found it. In a secret clearing, bathed in the very first ray of sunlight, was the sun-kissed lily. It was the most beautiful flower he had ever seen, its white petals as soft as a new cloud. And there, in the center of its largest petal, was a single, perfect dewdrop, shimmering with all the colors of the sunrise. With hands that trembled only slightly, Norman carefully, gently, tipped the petal and caught the precious drop in his tiny acorn cup. It glowed with a soft, warm light. With his precious cargo held safely, he returned to the great oak. He placed his hand on the root once more. "I am here," he whispered, "and I am listening. Guide me." The low, humming sigh from within the wood seemed to grow a little stronger, a faint vibration that only he could feel, pointing him toward the earth. The root's whisper guided him to a small opening at its base, a dark tunnel leading down into the quiet earth. It was dark, and the air smelled of soil and secrets. It was a little scary, but the warm glow from his acorn cap gave him courage. Holding the dewdrop before him like a lantern, Norman, the little gnome, took his first step down into the waiting darkness. The tunnel was not made of cold, dirt and rock, but of the living roots of the great oak itself. They crisscrossed and wove together above his head, creating a long, winding passageway that felt ancient and sacred. The air was cool and still, and the only sound was the soft padding of his own small feet. He couldn't see very far ahead, but he didn't need to. He could feel the whisper of the root, the low, steady hum that vibrated through the very ground he walked on. It was a gentle pull, a quiet song that told him which way to turn, guiding him deeper and deeper into the heart of the earth. He came to a place where the path was blocked by a thick curtain of tiny, delicate rootlets, like a fine, earthy lace. He didn't push or break them. He knew they were also a part of the tree. Carefully, one by one, he gently parted them, his movements slow and respectful, his precious Dewdrop held steady and safe. As he journeyed, the warm light from his acorn cap would sometimes fall upon the other creatures of the deep earth. He saw families of earthworms curled up and sleeping peacefully in their loamy beds. They would stir for a moment in his gentle glow before snuggling back into their quiet, comfortable darkness. The tunnels suddenly opened into a small, breathtaking cavern. The walls weren't made of root or soil, but were studded with countless tiny crystals. When the light from his Dewdrop touched them, they came alive, scattering his golden glow into 1,000 shimmering, dancing rainbows that painted the walls with every color imaginable. Norman felt he could stay in this magical place forever. He sat for a moment on a patch of soft, cool moss and rested his tired feet. He placed the glowing Dewdrop beside him and watched the gentle light play across the crystal walls. A silent, beautiful song of color and peace. As he sat in the quiet, he began to hear a new sound. It was not the hum of the root, but something even softer. A faint, trickling sound. The sound of water moving slowly and steadily somewhere in the darkness ahead. Following the sound, he entered another tunnel and found its source. A tiny, secret stream, no wider than his hand, flowed through the earth. This was the water that the great oak drank, the very lifeblood of the forest, and it flowed here, deep beneath the ground, pure and clear. The little stream was too wide for him to jump across. He looked around and found a strong, brown oak leaf that had fallen into the tunnels long ago. He laid it carefully over the water, creating a perfect, sturdy bridge. He took a deep breath, held his glowing cup high, and walked safely to the other side. But as he continued on, he noticed the hum of the root was growing weaker. The gentle pull that guided him was fading, and the path ahead felt darker and more uncertain. The great oak was getting tired. He knew he didn't have much time. He hurried his steps, his heart beating a little faster. The darkness seemed to press in around him. But then, far, far ahead, he saw it. A light. It was not the golden light of his Dewdrop, but a faint, pulsing, pale green light, like the color of a new spring leaf. He followed the light until the tunnel opened into a cavern so vast it felt like the center of the world. And in the middle of the cavern was the heartroot. It was a huge, magnificent knot of wood, the beginning of every root in the forest, and it was pulsing with a weak, sickly green light. This was the heart of the great oak, and it was fading. Holding his acorn cup in both hands, Norman walked slowly across the cavern floor. The air here was heavy with a tired silence. He felt very, very small in the presence of something so old and powerful. He walked until he stood right at the base of the great, gnarled wood. He looked for a place to offer his gift, and he saw it, carved into the surface of the heartroot, as if made for this very purpose, was a small, smooth hollow, the perfect size for his tiny acorn cup. With all the care in the world, Norman placed the acorn cup into the hollow. The tiny vessel, holding all the hope of the forest, rested safely in the heart of the great oak tree. He took a step back, his small part in the great quiet work now done. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Dewdrop flared with a light so warm and so bright it filled the entire cavern. Golden threads of pure energy began to flow from the cup, spreading out through the heart root and into every single root, big and small, that stretched out into the darkness. Norman placed his hand on the wood, and this time the hum he felt was not weak and tired. It was a deep, strong, and joyful song. It was the sound of life returning, the sound of healing. He could feel the great oak's gratitude washing over him in a wave of warmth. His journey back was very different. The root tunnels were now filled with a soft, golden light of their own. The path was clear, and the strong, happy hum of the tree guided his every step. He walked with a light heart, his important task now complete. When he stepped back out into the morning sun, he looked up. High above, the leaves of the great oak were no longer weary and pale. They were a brilliant, vibrant green, and they were dancing and rustling in the gentle breeze, singing their happy, familiar song to the entire forest once more. Norman returned to his mushroom house, his heart brimming with a quiet joy. He had listened to the forest, and the forest had listened to him. He had helped the great and ancient heart of his home, and now it was time for the little guardian to rest. He curled up in his bed and fell into the most peaceful sleep he had ever known. Spring had fully returned to the woods. The air buzzed with the happy sound of bees, and the forest floor was carpeted with new flowers. The great oak stood healthier and stronger than ever, its leaves singing a joyful song in the warm breeze. And Norman, our little gnome, felt a deep sense of peace watching over it all. The creatures of the forest had not forgotten what Norman had done. One morning, a little bluebird left a single, perfect blue feather at his doorstep, feather as bright as the summer sky. It was a small gift, a quiet thank you. The next day, a friendly squirrel left a trail of the finest hazelnuts, leading all the way from the great oak to Norman's home, so he wouldn't have to search for his breakfast. The forest was taking care of him, just as he had taken care of it. Even the bees shared their treasure. They would leave tiny, perfect drops of golden honey on the petals of the flowers. Near his home, a sweet treat to thank him for saving the tree that gave them so many blossoms to visit. Norman's days returned to their gentle rhythm. He didn't need grand adventures every day. He was happiest in the quiet moments mending a spider's web, polishing a smooth river stone, or simply listening to the rustle of the leaves. Sometimes he would return to the base of the great oak and press his ear against its root. The whisper was still there, but it was no longer a sad, tired sigh. It was a deep, steady, and happy hum, the sound of a strong and grateful heart beating deep within the earth. He would often visit the spot where he began his journey into the dark. He would remember the glowing crystals and the little leaf bridge, and he would smile. The adventure was over, but the memory was a treasure he would keep forever. The sun-kissed lily had closed its petals and would not bloom again for another year. Its work was done. It rested peacefully in its secret clearing, gathering strength from the sun and the rain, preparing for the next time it might be needed. And as the seasons turned, Norman became a storyteller. The youngest creatures of the forest would gather around him in the evenings, their eyes wide with wonder, as he told them the tale of the whispering root, the glowing dewdrop, and the brave little gnome who listened to the earth. He taught them that the biggest and strongest things in the world, like the great oak tree, sometimes need the help of the very smallest, and that if you listen very, very carefully, not just with your ears but with your whole heart, the world will tell you its secrets. And now, another day is coming to a close. The sun is dipping below the horizon, painting the clouds in sleepy colors. The birds are singing their last goodnight songs, and the forest is preparing for its long, peaceful rest. And in his cozy mushroom house, our little friend Norman is feeling very sleepy, too. His adventures for the day are over. It's time for him to snuggle down and dream. The moon rises, and a gentle mist rolls through the trees, like a big, soft blanket being pulled over the sleeping forest. Everything is quiet. Everything is still. And deep, deep underground, the heartroot of the great oak beats with a strong and steady rhythm, a peaceful lullaby for all the creatures who call the forest home. Norman is dreaming now. He's dreaming of sparkling crystals and tiny rivers, and the happy, healthy song of the great oak tree. He is safe and warm in his little mushroom home. All is well in the whispering woods. The great tree is safe, the little creatures are sleeping, and a brave little gnome is resting after his very important journey. And now it is time for you to rest, too. Just like Norman, you've had a long day full of your own adventures. It's time to let your body feel heavy and your mind become quiet. Take a slow, deep breath in, and let it all out with a soft sigh. Feel your bed holding you, keeping you safe and warm, just like the forest holds all of its little creatures. Let the quiet of the whispering woods fill your room. Let the gentle hum of the earth become your own peaceful heartbeat. You are safe, you are cozy, and you are ready for wonderful dreams. Sleep well, little dreamer, and listen closely. The world is full of wonderful whispers just waiting for you. Good night. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the days of summer arrived, warm and long. Norman loved the mornings, when the dew on the spiderwebs sparkled like diamonds and the air smelled sweet with the scent of clover. One of Norman's favorite things to do was collect stones from the stream. He would search for the smoothest ones, tumbled by the water for years and years, and he would polish them until they felt like warm, silken treasures in his hand. He noticed a beetle with a beautiful, shimmering shell who was having trouble finding a good place to rest. Norman found a sturdy, empty nutshell and placed it in a patch of sun, creating a perfect, cozy little house for the tired insect to shelter in. He would spend long afternoons just sitting and listening. He learned that the wind had many different voices. There was the happy whisper that meant a sunny day, the low hum that warned of rain, and the playful rustle that just wanted to dance with the leaves. Sometimes, the warmth of the sun and the gentle song of the wind would be too much for the little gnome. His eyelids would grow heavy, his head would nod, and he would drift into a peaceful afternoon nap, right there on a soft patch of clover. He learned the secret paths of the forest. He knew where to walk to avoid disturbing the slow, steady journey of the snails, who always left a beautiful, silvery trail to show where they had been. Every evening, he would watch as the sun painted the sky in magnificent colors, a grand masterpiece to signal the end of the day. It reminded him of his own adventures painting the stars, and it always made him smile. As the world outside grew dim, Norman would light his lamp. He didn't use a flame. He simply gave a gentle tap to the side of his firefly jar, and his little friends would begin to glow, filling his home with a light as warm and as cheerful as a tiny fireplace. He would look out his window and see his own stories twinkling back at him from the dark sky. He saw the starry river, the glowing honeycomb, and the little sleeping bear. And he remembered that even the smallest hands can create great beauty. The sounds of the day had faded, replaced by the soft, gentle lullaby of the night. A cricket's chirp, a soft hoot from a faraway owl, the whisper of the leaves. These were the sounds of peace. Norman's bed was waiting for him. It was made of the softest moss he could find, and it was always the most comfortable place in the world at the end of a long day. He climbed into his bed, his little body sinking into the soft moss. It felt so good to rest his tired feet and his busy mind. He pulled his special leaf quilt up to his chin. The quilt was warm and smelled faintly of the sunny days when he had collected each leaf. He took a long, slow breath in and let it out with a happy sigh. The whole world seemed to be sighing with him, settling down for a long and peaceful sleep. The little fireflies in his lantern began to dim their lights, their work for the day also done. The room grew darker, and cozier. A deep quiet settled over the little mushroom house. Nothing stirred. Everything was at peace. Outside, the woods were just as quiet. The night creatures had found their warm burrows and nests. The entire world was holding its breath. The great oak stood guard, its strong branches a safe ceiling over the sleeping forest, its deep roots a steady anchor in the quiet earth. Norman began to dream. He dreamt of the smell of warm earth, the feeling of soft moss, and the gentle taste of honey. He drifted deeper and deeper into sleep, like a little leaf floating on a slow, calm river, carrying him gently into the land of dreams. Your own eyelids are feeling heavy now, so very heavy. Your arms feel heavy and warm, so very relaxed. Your legs feel heavy and peaceful, sinking into your cozy bed. Your bed is so soft, so comfortable, holding you safely. Listen to the quiet, so peaceful, so calm. A single star winks goodnight. All the little creatures are sleeping. The rabbits are sleeping. The foxes are sleeping. The birds are sleeping in their nests. Whole forest is dreaming. And Norman is dreaming, too. And now, it is time for you to dream. You are safe and sound. You are warm and cozy. So very, very sleepy. And now, our dear friend Norman is fast asleep, his heart full of the happy, humming song of the great oak tree. The forest is quiet, and the stars are watching over him. I hope you're feeling cozy and sleepy, too. There are so many more magical friends to meet and quiet adventures to share. If you would like to join us for our next story, you can ask your grown-up to tap the subscribe button. That way, we won't miss you next time. Until then, sleep well, and may your dreams be full of wonder. Good night.